Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor again to introduce a dear friend of mine and for our next introduction and next inductee. And ladies and gentlemen from Elgin, Oklahoma, our 2012 World Livestock Auctioneering Champion, please help me make welcome Mr. Billy Ballou.
I've had the honor of speaking at several funerals, and that's really tough, guys. You don't want anything more than to honor the people that you idolize and look up to, people that you call your heroes, people that help raise you and mold you into who you are. And I heard a quote one time that said, "Live a life where people will say good things about you before your funeral." So I'm honored to be able to stand up here today and talk about this man before that comes. Because at my dad's funeral, after I got down, he said, "I don't know if any of my kids are going to want to speak at my funeral, but I want you to speak at my funeral." I thought that was the oddest request I'd ever heard from a live man. But anyways, at that funeral, as I was speaking, I can remember vividly to this second, looking out and seeing Rob Fisher sitting in the crowd, and I was talking about my dad, and I thought, man, my dad would really get a kick out of the fact that the president of the Oklahoma National Stockyards is at his funeral. And it was just one of those moments that you realize that your boss and your mentor has moved from that position into a friend. Somebody that's willing to take away from work or out of their life and go pay respect to somebody that they didn't know very well in respect to you. Speaks volumes in my book. And in the video they played there, they talked about the chatter of people and the cattle moving in the background, and then the cattle moving in the background, and the chant of the auctioneer in the background, the trucks moving around, and all the things that we all love about the auctions and the sale barns. I mean, I could smell it, and I could hear it, and I could taste it when they were talking about that in video, and I love it. It gives me chills. It's why I became an auctioneer, because I fell in love with that just as a little bitty kid going. Now imagine it's somebody yelling at you and screaming at you. There's bullets flying around, and they yank you out of your country and take you somewhere else. Something I feel like we need to recognize that this man did, and there's others in here, is our military. Rob Fisher was a graduate of the Oklahoma Military Academy, and he graduated with honors. He enlisted in the United States Air Force and he served 3 years as a reserve. And if anybody else here is reserved or is retired or active military, if you ever served, I'd ask that you'd stand up for me. Let's give them all a round of applause. That's the foundation of what kind of guy I'm talking about. Rob Fisher was practically born into the Oklahoma National Stockyards, and they said at the early ages of 9 years old could be found going around and cleaning out water tanks with his grandpa. There's a lot of things like that this generation really needs to see more of. They need to see that we start cleaning water troughs, that we start in jobs that are not glorious. The kid at 9 years old that was cleaning water troughs became the president of one of the largest stocker and feeder markets in the world, and held that position for many years and saw tens of millions of cattle market through that place. In 1969, Rob Fisher and his father started an order buying company. In 1969, you'd have been 19 years old, is that right? That's quite a feat. 3 years later, he and his dad went into partnership on a farmers commission company, and they ran that from 1972 until 1994 when his father passed away. And again, just 22 years old, was running a commission company at one of the largest. Taking that kind of responsibility on your shoulders is nothing to be scoffed at. Ran it until, was it 2008, and sold it to his son, Joey Fisher, who runs that commission company to this day. You know, there's things that we do, and I continue to hear people say, we need an injection of youth in our industry. And while I wholeheartedly agree with that, we also need the generation that built this to hang on, to stay there and be the mentor, to stay there and be the leader, to be the example for these young people to follow. It's all well and fine to put young people in there, but if they don't have any leadership, where are they going to go? In 2019, Rob Fisher retired. Yeah, right. That was December of 2019, the last sale of the year. And that first sale back in January, Rob Fisher was sitting in his chair, buying cattle for his customers. And while I want people to be able to retire and to enjoy those years, don't forget what you need to do as a leader. And Rob Fisher continues to do that today. I think to that, one of his customers is sitting here that he buys and sells cattle for, has for many, many years. That's another testament to the character and the relationships that he's developed over the years and maintained. And not a lot of people that you can order by for and get them to come celebrate you. That's a great deal. I was honored to be hired by Rob Fisher. And I think it was my first day of work. We sell a set of cattle, and I run up the pole, and we get a really good price for them. Well, we count them going out, and I think there was one long. Well, the boy that bought them didn't want them. He'd give too much for them. So, of course, we asked him. He said, no, resell them. So, there's one extra. I made them a little lighter. I thought, they ought to be worth what I got. So I run right back to where I was at. Well, the boy that bought them was on the phone, and he wasn't paying attention, so I just sell out to him. I put him right back where he had them the first time. Sell 2 or 3 drafts, and he looks up. He said, well, what happened to the cattle I bought a minute ago? He said, they're on my recap. I said, yeah, I put them back on you. He said, well, I didn't bid. I said, well, they were lighter. You wanted them the first time, so I sold them to you again. He hangs up his phone. He comes down. He goes straight over to Rob. And I was like, well, here we go. This is my first week. I think it might be my first day. So I got 20 minutes left. I finish my hour, and I get down, and I'm walking around, and Rob's sitting right in the front. And I see him. He goes, come here. I said, hang on, I'll be right back. So I went up, and I sat down next to the order buyer. He throws his chair down there. We talk it out, figure it out. He tells me, whatever. We smooth it out. Well, I come back down by Rob. I said, what'd you want? He goes, well, is he mad? I said, yeah, he's mad. I said, did you fix it? Yeah, I fixed it. He goes, all right. Well, don't do that again. I thought, we're going to be all right. He's got my back. Well, 3 months later, I got us in a lawsuit. Because getting an auctioneer to stop buying cattle behind the microphone is like getting a dog that eats chickens to quit eating chickens. I can still buy cattle, can't I, Rob? No, baby, you can't buy cattle no more. Well, at that point in my life and in my career, I was young and really not in any position to be in a lawsuit. And Rob called me into his office. He said, hey, we're going to all fight this together. He said, don't worry about getting an attorney. We got you back. We're all in this together, and we're going to take care of you. And he's been that way from day one. Day one with the order buyer, to the lawsuit, to when my dad died, and everything in between. He's been loyal almost to a fault. He's got a heart of service, as you see from his military record. In 1970, he married his wife, Vicki. They had 4 kids, and he now has 10 grandchildren. He sits in that auction on Mondays, and he order buys, and he still continues to make a living and support his son's commission company because he's got that heart of service. And like I said, being able to see him move from my boss and my mentor and giving me the opportunity to sit in a seat and work somewhere I was not qualified to work for and become the auctioneer and the person that I am today, that means the world to me, Rob. I was proud to be hired by you. I was proud to work for you, and I'm proud to call you my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Rob Fisher.
Thank you, Bailey. I think you about said it all. I don't know what else to say. I'm very honored to get this, and I tell you, the Winter family doing this, it means a lot to me. The people I see before me and the ones I know will be behind me, I just think it's a great operation, and I thank you and thank Darcy. I think she did it all. But anyway, I've been doing this a long time, and I love it. As my little bride of 53 years will tell you. Her dad told me when we asked her to get married when she was 17, he says, what do you do? How are you going to make a living? I said, I'm going to make money in the cattle business. He said, oh my gosh, no way. You need to go out to Tinker Air Force Base and get a job as a mechanic. He said, them cattle people are all crooks. But he changed his tune over the years, and everything worked out well. But every accomplishment that I've made in my, 60-some years I've been doing this, I owe to several people. My grandfather came to the Oklahoma National Stockyards during the Depression. He had 3 sons, and he was a blacksmith in Jefferson, Missouri. He went broke, moved to Oklahoma City with his 3 sons, and he went to work for the yard company at first. Then as time went on, he got into order buying, and his 3 sons got into buying with him, one of them being my dad. And, he's the one that started it all. Now we're working on the 4th generation with my son. But I've always managed, I've never been very smart, so I've had to have a different way of accomplishing these things. And I've always managed to surround myself with smarter people than I. And it's not too hard to find them. But I found a lot of them over the years that helped me, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Goggins. I spent a long time visiting with him one time in Billings, Montana, and I thought he was just a market specialist myself. I believe that the auction way is the only way to sell cattle. I think that's the only way you're going to get your true price discovery. When you've got several of us greedy buyers out there bidding, and when you got these great auctioneers like Bailey and all these other ones in the room that can make you give $5 a hundred or $10 a hundred more than you ever thought you would wanted to, that's what makes it the best way to sell your cattle. I want to thank all my people that are here, my whole family. I've got a whole table full of grandkids over here. I don't know that we'll see a 5th generation in our business, but if we don't, that's fine. That means they're smarter than me and my son Joe. But and I want to make one special thanks to the Morris family and the Bachman family, the people that own Oklahoma National Stockyards. I mean, it's publicly traded, but Chris's uncle and his great-granddad was the Morris family that built the St. Louis Stockyards, had a lot to do with the Kansas City Stockyards, and they've been in the business for years, hundreds of years. And I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to run all their companies for 19 good years, But I'm very humbled, and I very much appreciate this award, and thank you all for coming here to celebrate.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I do want to say something. Thought long and hard about what to finalize tonight's festivities, and you saw the legacies that Jackie had talked about, and Rob, and you see Joey up here, and the families, the Santa Masos that we had talked about earlier. Folks, all these people that we've inducted into this Cattle Marketing Hall of Fame have paid a toll. They've given the ultimate sacrifice, their entire life, their entire careers, to pave the way for all of us. Each and every one of us are indebted, and will be that way from now on. I want to challenge my generation and the generation behind me, and the reason I say this is this. I talked a little earlier about the piece of the pie. We're starting now at this point in time as livestock producers to get a little more piece of the pie. Are we there yet? Based on cutout values, no. But with you folks, your intestinal fortitude, your desire, your moral makeup, we're going to get there. Okay, I'm going to say something that I never dreamt that I would ever say, But there are countries now, for the first time in our history, whose currency is of equal or more valuable than the U.S. dollar. Okay? We have a group of people, whether they're elected fairly or not, that represent us. I told you about being forgotten, about being rural Americans. Folks, I'm going to challenge you tonight. My generation, the generation behind me, it's our opportunity. Those folks that I talked about whose currencies are growing have tasted your product. You raise a genetically superior product. It's something that you ought to be incredibly proud of. You raise and you own the land that's required to produce that product. There's power there. There's power. I told you a little bit about rural America and being non-confrontational and not very verbal. It's our opportunity to do that now, to be proud of where we are, to be proud of what we do. Okay? A lot of you, I can only imagine if Rob or Jackie or Beef or Cowboy Jack or Jack Hunter, I can only imagine if they were in a school board meeting and a parent said, you know, we're thinking about installing litter boxes in the bathrooms. I can imagine what these gentlemen would say. Folks, with all jokes aside, that's happening, okay? There's a group of people in Washington that don't want us here. They don't want entrepreneurial spirits. They don't want free-thinking individuals who own land and produce protein. I believe in you. I'm one of you. We all are. Let's take that to heart. Let's realize what God has given us, the blessings of that, and understand that if you see these kids sitting around these tables, we want them and their grandkids to be right here in 20 years. If we don't all pull together and fight together, the opposition's strong, folks. They're well-funded. But you own the products. You raise the most superior protein this world has ever known. Be proud of that. We, from the bottom of our hearts, this is Darcy's deal. Folks, if you get an opportunity to thank her, this is, again, something that we feel very passionate about. We're going to be right back here next year with another class to join the finest people in our industry. Folks, God bless you. Come see us tomorrow. We're going to have an outstanding contest. But with that, I thank you from the bottom of our hearts. On behalf of everybody, Brian, Darcy, Mark, Katrina, the entire family, thank you, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless you.